And welcome back to the show. Previously, we had Gary Gygax talk about how awesome he is. Now we have a new special guest, D. Brad Talton Jr., or otherwise.
Oh man, I don't want to appear on any podcast that Gary Gygax has recently appeared on. That's too spooky. Because you'd have to broadcast from the other side, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
we're not broadcasting from the other side, right? It's not even Dia de los Muertos over here.
Yeah, that's true. Well, Gary Gygax is a pretty cool guy. And maybe we have a soothsayer. Maybe I'm secretly a soothsayer.
You're channeling the spirit of Gary Gygax, who you've never met. Well, I don't know how to verify, I don't know how to confirm or deny that. So let's go with it.
Yeah, let's just go with it. I'm pretending that I'm channeling that spirit. I'm pretty sure I know some people who probably could, but I'm not one of them. I'm not very magical or mystical in any way.
Hopefully Gary played Moonlighter so that he can participate in our Game of the Week segment.
Oh, hopefully he did. But welcome to the Level Cap Podcast, and I'm really glad you're here. We have a wonderful docket. We're going to be talking about some games that we've been playing. We're going to be talking about cool stuff that Brad's all about and answering some hot press questions you guys have for us. But Brad, I think it's very interesting that we're finally able to go back to our roots, the where it all started.
Yeah? In what sense?
In the sense that we're going back to how our old segments used to be. For example, what we've been playing.
Structured podcast.
Yeah, like a structured podcast. So, welcome to this segment, what we've been playing. And rather than asking Brad what he's been doing this week, I'm going to ask him, we're going to be talking about our game of this week. And our game of this week was...
Moonlighter.
Ooh, is this about lighting the moon?
No, it's about moonlighting, which is where you have one job, but then you go out at night and do a different job. In this case, the job you have for real is being a shopkeeper, and the job you go out and do at night, alternatively, is be a adventurer, dungeon crawler adventurer.
Yes.
And so this is the story of Will, a young boy in this town who decides he wants to be an adventurer / merchant. So every day he wakes up, opens his shop, sells things. Every night he descends into the dungeons outside town in order to loot valuables and bring them back to stock his store. And that is where we find ourselves at the beginning of this adventure.
Yeah. And there are these, mystical dungeons that no one's supposed to go into, but for some apparent reason Will wants to. I still don't understand. Will doesn't talk. He's a silent protagonist.
In the tradition of all silent protagonists.
Yeah,
he's silent.
Yeah, of course, he doesn't talk. So, it's a very wonderful game, actually suggested to us by one of our listeners, so we ended up playing it. It was really great, because I was actually telling Brad to play Reciteer, and Moonlighter actually seems what would be a modern-day Reciteer. So how did you like it, Brad? I've played similar games before, but you haven't. So what do you feel about this kind of genre?
Well, I wouldn't say I haven't played similar games before, but I did enjoy it, and I thought it was quite good. So
really?
So I was happy to have the opportunity to play it, yeah.
Yeah, it was a pretty great game.
It's a pretty good one.
Yeah. It's a kind of short one, though, right?
I highly recommend Moonlighter.
Oh, yes. Do you recommend this game, Brad?
Yeah, no, I think this game is really good. It's not super long. You can beat it in a weekend, but it's longer than... what's the other one that we played? Steam
World Dig.
So it's longer than the Steam World games, but it's shorter than, say, Hollow Knight. And it's about 10 hours. You should be able to get through this thing. If you're playing, if you're not going around. I really like this game. I kind of wish there was more of it. I wish that this was a 30-hour game. And it feels like they meant for it to be, because there's so much in the town that just doesn't seem fully fleshed out, right?
Yeah. It's
in a game like Rune Factory or such, you'd expect to kind of have to do some stuff in town to meet some people, to build some relationships, and then those would help you out in the dungeon. but in Moonlighter, there's not really a reason to do anything else except like blacksmith, potion shop, dungeon, blacksmith, potion shop, dungeon, ad nauseum.
I don't even understand why the other shop is there. Like, I get it, you're probably sometimes lazy to go into the dungeon and get the materials yourself.
The retailer?
Yeah, the retailer.
I used the retailer once just to get some rare materials that were tough to find.
I mean, I guess that is the point of the retailer, but like you get my point, right? Like, they're not integral parts of the town. They're just like there, and you sometimes use them.
I mean, they'd be useful if you wanted to like go clean up all the different weapons in the game. Retailer would be useful to have, I
guess. Like, but at the end of the day, right?
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's not. It's not
there's
just not enough. There's not enough in the town to make the town portion compelling.
Yeah, I think I agree. It seems like it was tacked on. That's what I feel. Rather,
I think the opposite. I think it was intentionally. It was originally planned, and then it was cut out for like time or budget reasons. But is this still early access, or is this a full release?
Oh, it's a full release. So this was a Kickstarted game.
Okay. So probably what happened is they had a bigger vision for the original game, and then based on their funding and scope and the realities of game design, they realized, oh, we don't have enough to do all this town stuff we want to do. We just have to make the dungeon work. That'd be my assumption based on what I've seen.
I see. I mean, I think at the core of it all, it's a decent. It's a good experience, right? Like,
it's a good experience.
Yeah, it's a very fun experience. I did find a lot of problems. This is the problem with me talking about these kinds of games, is that I can't really talk about how much I like the game in general, because most of those aspects are kind of like, how do you say, the things you take for granted, right? Like, for example, how wonderful the animation is, how smooth the controls feel, how meaty your hits are. Like, that's not something I can talk about ad nauseum,
you
right?
Can. I mean, those are all important parts of the experience, right? And I think the game does really present a really good experience for this dungeon crawling. Like, it stands apart from like Gungeon or Rogue Legacy or some of these other roguelites that you've played. Like, there's a reason to play this, even if you've already played those, for sure.
Yeah. Definitely. It's the shop element, I think, is really important to what makes this game really tick. My favorite parts of the game are actually doing the shop stuff.
I just wish there's a little more to the shop. Like, that's the thing, right? Like, you get the requests, you get the request booth, and you're like, oh, I'm going to get these requests. And then, by that time you get the request booth, and somebody says, oh, can you bring me 5 of these for $40,000? You've already, like, you go into a dungeon and you pick up, $300,000, $400,000 of loot, and you're like, well, why do I care?
Yeah.
And that's why I said it feels like there was meant to be more there, but the game scales so quickly. Like, each dungeon increases the loot value of the previous dungeon by a factor of like 4.
Yes.
And instead of like, it really ought to be maybe like 1.1 or 1.2, because when you go up by a factor of 4, there's no reason to ever go back to the old dungeon. And
exactly.
I kept waiting for like some big thing in the game to say, oh, now you've got to go back and fight the second boss in this dungeon, or beat floors like 4 through 6 of this dungeon with a new boss, so that the difficulty would ramp up, and they'd get to reuse those assets and extend the game without necessarily doing a lot more work. But they didn't do that, and that surprised me a bit.
Yeah, I don't understand why either. It felt like the dungeons are actually really short, It's like, what originally makes them seem quite long is the fact that you start off with garbage weapon, right? Like, but the moment you have like a well-crafted enough weapon, the dungeons become exceedingly short. And I think
they're really gear checks. And once your gear reaches a certain level, you can win.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So, like, Moonlighter is an overall great experience, but I think instead of like ragging on about it, but like, I think one thing about the game encapsulates my problem with Moonlighter, and it's the bosses. What do you call this? Mm-hmm. I mean, like, at the end of the day, like, I get that it's kind of like a grindy game. So I'm a grinder kind of player, right? Like, I have no problem with staying in the first dungeon for like 4 hours and just grinding until I have like max level all equipment, right? So when I got to the first boss, for example, the golem, I felt like it had like, does the golem have like any attacks? Because I didn't notice. Because literally, I just stayed in front of the golem, didn't move, and repeatedly tapped X until it died. So
Huh.
like,
Okay. I think my style of grinding is a bit different than yours because I guess you play for a long range grind and you grind out a bunch of stuff and then you beat the dungeon in one go. But I go for more of like a mid range grind and I want to grind out the minimum possible amount of stuff so that I can upgrade my weapons so that I can get to the higher tier loot as quickly as possible. And when you play it that way, it really does feel like floor 1 is an experience, and then floor 2 is an experience, and then floor 3 is an experience, and then the boss. Because you're like, oh, well, when I get to floor 2, I'm at like, the value of all my loot increases by about a factor of 2. And then when you get to the third floor, it does the same thing again. So you're really incentivized to rush the third floor of the dungeon as quick as you can. I think that works. And it's got kind of this escalator experience where you really do feel like you're constantly getting stronger as you play.
yeah,
Like the game moves forward. And so I
Yeah.
never felt like I was just, maybe once or twice I was like, oh, I got to go in and like go get this thing. But that's when I realized, oh, I can just walk to the retailer and buy it because I'm rich.
yeah.
Then
I like
you're
that.
rich most of the game.
Yeah, I think that's a big deal. Maybe it just like has something to do with the way I play. Since I play so many roguelikes, and I went into this thinking like this is like a roguelike. So like every floor I was on was like search every room, grind every room, and it's like,
Yeah, but
oh,
it's not Binding of Isaac. Like there's nothing in this room, there's nothing on this floor that's going to actually help you beat the boss. Everything that's going to help you beat the boss is in the town.
Yeah, so that was my, I guess that was my problem, right? Like I went into it going like, okay, I finished floor 1, go back to town, floor 1 again, go back to town, floor 1 again, go back to town. So like that's basically how I did it, which is why it's taking me significantly longer to finish the game than you.
I see. Yeah. You really want to like, because once you upgrade your weapon, like you effectively double or triple the value of your storefront. So there's no reason not to do it as quick as possible.
Yeah, so I guess that was my mistake. But like at the end of the day, it was a really fun game. I give it an instant like 5 out of 5 stars because they let you use gauntlet melee weapons. Therefore, you could be a brawler. It gets a check from me. What weapon did you use?
The bow and arrow is top tier. Because you don't have to engage anything once you have the bow and arrow. It can fire through projectile or through obstacles, and monsters can't. So, the bow lets you step down an extra dungeon beyond your level, as long as you're willing to just stand there and shoot a lot while you cheese the monsters.
Nice.
But the sword and shield is probably the best weapon in the game because blocking is real important once you get to dungeon 4. The monsters hit so far the monsters hit so hard at that point that it's you have to be able to block.
Ah, okay. I mean, I just use fists, and then I think the thing about fists is that they like the charge attack deals so much damage. It's honestly crazy. I mean, like you one shot everything if you have like the correctly geared equipment. You like one shot all regular mobs at that point. I'm not sure about bosses because I don't even try to charge attack against bosses because I feel like that will kill you.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I never built a glove, so I don't know how those play.
Oh man, gloves are great.
I would give this game I would give it a 3 of 5.
Yeah, that sounds like a correct score.
I'd say worthy of playing. The game clearly wants to be more. Like it didn't fill the, it's like you dig a big pit in your backyard and then you put a little tiny swimming pool in it, and you're like, well, why didn't we just build a swimming pool the same size as the pit? Well, we ran out of time and money. That's kind of how I feel about this game. Like there was room for so much more, and the developers just, for whatever reason, and they probably had good reasons, didn't fill in all of the design space they had built for themselves. And so that's the game. If they had taken out, I think if they'd taken out some of the hooks of the game, like take out the request counter, take out the banker, take out some of the other things in town that were clearly part of a bigger game, and just focus on this one thing, more like SteamWorld Dig did, the game would feel like a more complete experience, and that it would be like a 5 of 5. But for me, I'd say 3 of 5, worthy of playing. But not just for the experience of the game, but also to observe some of the flaws and to learn a bit about the design.
Yeah. So if you want like better Moonlighter, I suggest you actually just play Reciteer, because it sounds like you just want to play Reciteer. Like based on all of what you've said, it's like, hey, Brad, that's all in Reciteer.
I mean, you just need to play Atelier Iris. So
I guess that's also true. Oh man.
I mean, I like the way that you play roguelikes. I play item shop simulators, so it's not it's not that it, like yeah, like you're telling me to play these games. I do need to play Reciteer, but I'm pretty sure what I'm going to find there because I played a lot of games in this genre.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. I think that's going to be a recurring meme. So basically, Brad plays item shop. I mean, like, I guess maybe that's why you got into board games. You wanted your own item shop in real life.
In real life, yes, my real life item shop.
Yeah.
It does feel a little bit like that.
Oh my gosh. So yeah, at the end of the day, we both recommend Moonlighter. I think Brad and I have similar scores. I'm going to make mine. My real score is probably like 3.5, mostly because I'm a sucker for this genre of game. And I'm also a sucker for games that let you use brawler gloves. Like, that's actually a big selling point to me. I don't know why. I just like it. So yeah, 3.5 for me. I recommend it. You guys should try it. It's not Reciteer, but it'll do. Yeah. So now that we've done this segment, and I hope you guys all enjoyed it, please tell us if you enjoyed us doing this segment the way it was meant to be. And if you guys want to suggest more games to us, we might get there if you give us the game in the comment section down below. I think somebody suggested Iconoclasts, so we're probably going to try to see whether or not we can do that. But at the end of the day, please tell us whether or not you like this segment. So Brad, let's move on to your segment. Is it going to be a pipeline, or is it going to be a character of the week? What do you want to do, Brad? This is your segment, and welcome to Brad's segment.
So, so I'll take a quick minute to talk about what we've been doing here in the office. It's been a busy few days since the end of the Imperial Kickstarter. Everybody's constantly drawing, or graphic designing, or preparing for our next big project, which will be BattleCon Unleashed, or working on 7th Cross. And we're also planning our 2019 line at this point. So what I've been doing is collecting everybody's ideas for games here in the office and kind of working out what we're going to do for the next year. And so this is an interesting part of the process because it's not just about game design and it's not just about the economics of like what we can afford and what we need to do, but it's also a bit about bringing the team together, talking about all the games that we're interested in, the plans that we're interested in, the resources we have on hand, kind of balancing all of those different social and economic and design aspects together in a way that's not, it's a little different than just a pure analysis.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I've been doing. Yeah. So that's what I've been doing this past few weeks is talking about, should we do a new Pixel Tactics? What should we do for like a next season of Exceed? I have a few cool game ideas that I sent off to inquire about different licenses. Maybe we can talk about those. Things like that. Like what's the next World of Indies game?
Man. So that makes me think, what you want to ask our fans or listeners what they think should be the next Indians game?
I'm kind of curious. So, yeah, what aspect of Indians do you want to see? So let's like step back, right? So we start with BattleCon, and in BattleCon we had we had characters fighting. We kind of introduced the world. After BattleCon, we did Argent. We did 7-card Slugfest and Disc Duels. Yes. Those kind of introduced more of the the wacky nature of the world, the nature of anything goes in this world. Mm-hmm. And then we did Argent, and Argent, brought to life this political magical university, Argent University, which is a big part of the world. And after Argent, now we're doing Imperial kind of connecting the whole world together, and we learned a bit more about commerce and trade in the world of Indians. So that's something unique as well. Mm-hmm. So what is the next aspect we will bring to Indians? We've been talking a little bit about it. What kind of things we want to do. We have a few ideas. One was to do a game about the mercenary companies of Indians.
Oh, the one that Rook and Hikaru end up establishing. Champions of Indians?
Or the one that Gerard runs. Black Spire Company, or but a couple others. There are a bunch of these guys in the world, and we could bring that to life and kind of show how they go on adventures and make it sort of a sandbox / open world style game, which is another genre we haven't done yet.
Like Gloomhaven / Seventh Cross?
Really more like Zia, Legends of a Drift System, or Wasteland Express, or Runebound, RuneQuest, I think, actually. Those kind of games. I don't know if you've played any of those, but they're...
Nope.
Yeah, so they sort of are games where you travel around a map and you encounter things and build up your army or your character or whatever in preparation for some big final conflict. The World of Warcraft adventure game.
Oh, I was about to say, like the World of Warcraft board game.
Yeah. Not the World of Warcraft board game. Not the Warcraft board game, but the World of Warcraft board game is a good example.
Yeah. The World of Warcraft board game.
Yeah, so those kind of sandbox games are the sort of one style that we've been considering for Indians as our next plan.
That sounds really cool. I actually wanted something along the lines of what's the name of that? I can't believe I forget the name of that firefighting game. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about too, but now it's
it escapes me. Whatever. I want a co-op-ish Indians adventure game where you're like the Planestalkers and you're trying to avert a planar collapse or something.
It's Flashpoint.
It's Flashpoint. There you go, Flashpoint. Oh my god.
So you really want Champions of Indians where you get together and save the world with your friends.
Yes, Brad. I wonder if this was all just a thinly veiled suggestion about getting Champions of Indians back.
Okay. The other thing we'd considered was doing a game about the Amalal Senate and people experience more the political side of Indians, like voting and passing laws and stuff in the context of this fantasy world. Because there are a lot of political games, but there are not really any fantasy political games out there.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's like maybe you could make a law banning werewolves from entering bars or something.
Or
I don't know.
Hats in public.
Oh man, yeah, or having sisters named Karen. At the end of the
that's oddly
day...
specific. Anyway, so all these laws are just to prevent Jaeger from enjoying life.
It's Jaeger? No.
The other thing we had thought about was maybe making some kind of puzzle game, and making it.
Isn't that Grimoire Shuffle? Isn't that what Grimoire Shuffle is?
That's not technically in the world of Indians.
Ah, okay, that's fair.
There's some debate over whether Grimoire Shuffle happens at Argent University Library or not.
I always assumed it did.
Of that at the moment.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
But the idea that maybe we do a puzzle game or some kind of competitive puzzle game, which would end up being a sports competition or something in the world, would be a new way to bring the world to life.
Squaditch. Yes, that's the name of this game. Squaditch.
No.
Are you sure?
Why is everything... Oh, every time I talk about making a sports game, you're like, it'll be like Quidditch. I think we've had this conversation 2 or 3 times, Marco.
It's Quaditch, man. It's Squaditch. Gosh. Look, here's the thing, man. You say sports and you say magical world. What other magical sport is there in the common consciousness?
Blitzball?
Is that even magic? I mean, they're just swimming.
They breathe underwater.
Okay, that's fair. Fine. Blitzball. I love the Blitzball minigame.
I feel like there's 1 or 2 others. Blitzball is awful. Don't say that in public anymore.
Oh my gosh, I love the Blitzball minigame. I wish they just made Final Fantasy X just Blitzball.
See, I thought your comment was gonna be no, Brad, a game that exists in public consciousness, not a game that needs to be erased from public consciousness.
Yes, it's true. Okay. Anything else happen at the office, or any other games you want to sneak peek preview before we head on to my segment?
Those are not previews. Those are things that we've talked about. And so,
I mean, reveal that you've been talking about them.
There's been some talk of doing a space shooter board game. There's been some talk of a Civilization style card game. we've been looking at video games. We're kind of thinking of what we're going to do after BattleCon Online and Pixel Tactics Online in terms of video games. So, we're thinking maybe a top-down shooter. Moonlighter's been pretty inspirational. So, talks are ongoing, and we're coming together with things.
Oh, Brad, I just thought of something.
What's that?
Medieval fantasy kaiju golem versus dragons game.
That's a lot of words, Marco.
But I would want to play that. Like you have the golem, dragon buster golems fighting against different kinds of dragons. Oh man!
So this is like the old Ultraman video game, but with a fantasy theme,
or like board game. Yeah, set in the world of India, or board game. I don't know.
Okay.
It sounds like I just want Pacific Rim.
Yeah, it does sound like you just want Pacific Rim. But luckily, like a Pacific Rim style game was one of the things that was pitched to us. So.
Oh, steal it! It's ours now. Take it. Okay.
Well, it was pitched internally, so it wouldn't really be taking it or stealing it. It would just be accepting the internal submission.
All right. Okay, that's fair.
You don't even have to be underhanded, Marco. You can just do the thing you want to do.
Yeah.
It's a new sensation for you.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. I can do things legally. Oh.
Legal.
Yeah, legal. All right, so that pretty much does it for the pipeline segment where Brad talks about development, the future of Level 99 games, or otherwise. If you guys want us to talk about a specific aspect of development, please tell us in the comment section down below, and we will try to get to that as soon as possible. Brad loves answering those kinds of questions. Speaking of questions, Brad, are you ready for my segment? The Level 99, the 99 question segment of Level 99 Games on the Wall, where we take your hard-pressed questions and then inflate them back up because you pressed them too hard.
Okay, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it. All right, so question number 1. What is it like to prepare for large conventions? Is there a team attending Gen Con this year?
So, preparing for large conventions? It's a lot of hassle. It's a lot of coordination. It's kind of like preparing to ship a Kickstarter project, really. You have to coordinate your freight to the show. You have to coordinate all the people getting to the show. So it's a lot of like delivering this to there. Then you have to house all the people, which is a lot like finding warehousing and storage for stuff. And then it's what's the word? And then you have to make sure that everybody gets to the show on time and is at the booth at certain times, and then you also have to buy the booth. It's just a lot of stuff. Like there's just a lot of stuff to coordinate.
It sounds like you don't enjoy it very much.
I don't, and that's why we have Chris Solis doing that stuff now.
Nice.
Because he actually does enjoy shows, which is baffling to me how anybody enjoys this, but he does. And so he's organizing he's handling the organized play program in season, like the next season that starts in a month.
Nice.
He's also planning the shows that we're attending for the rest of the year.
Ooh, that's a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah,
so
it's all going pretty well so far.
Is Chris gonna be at Gen Con then?
Yes. Well, we will all be at Gen Con. I say all, everyone except I3 this year will be at Gen Con.
Well, I mean, not also, all, right?
Well, yeah, like, not you or Noko or Fontes or Cameron or anybody else overseas.
So really, it's just you, Chris, and like
Laura will be there. Who else is going to come with us?
Chad
will be there. Chad will be there. Like basically most of our American crew will be there this year.
Yeah. That's good to know.
Yeah.
Oh, it'll be fun. Do you have any
come by and hang out with us?
Do you have any events planned? Like 2 people cosplaying, beating each other up?
Nothing so crass. We have the BattleCon tournament, Exceed tournament. You can play Imperial with Trey. You can play Argent with Trey. You can
Temporal Odyssey?
Yeah, Temporal Odyssey tournament with Chris. We are going to be giving away... We're going to have a new Exceed demo deck to give away. We're going to have the new Exceed boxes and new Argent boxes. So we got a lot of cool stuff that we're going to be offering at Gen Con. I think it's going to be a good show for us.
That's great. Can you come and cosplay, Brad, as Tolton the Bard?
I don't know. I guess I could, but I tend to, I'm not in the booth enough to really make it matter. I'm usually doing meetings and stuff at Gen Con.
Okay. Fine.
I think I'll just go as me. I got enough work to do as me. I don't need Tolton the Bard's work as well.
I see. Okay. You don't want to be carrying around a human skull with you all the time, right?
I don't think he carries that in his artwork. I think it just comes in the same pack as he does.
Oh, really? Okay, then I might have misunderstood the context of that pack. All right, next question. Will the Grand Chronicle lore book contain the main storyline from War all the way to Wanderers, like Magdalena killing the Overlord, trying to kill the Overlord, resurrecting the Overlord, blah blah blah, vault keys, blah blah blah? Will it include all of this in a unified timeline?
Yes, and that is what I am putting together right now. I'm taking all the old lore that I have and I'm consolidating it together. I'm building a timeline so that I know, all these interesting, important things, like how old was everybody at each different point in history, and who knows who and why, and what are the connections between the characters. So I'm building all that together. It will not only include the timeline between War and Trials, or War and Wanderers, but it'll also include Argent and Imperial and 7-Card Slugfest in that timeline, since those games all have canon timeline occurrences.
Man, I can't believe there's a I still can't believe 7-Card Slugfest is canon, because that means at some point in time, Hikaru, Wardlaw, Luke, and a bunch of other people were in a bar and started beating each other up because of a magic belt. So,
well, when you put it that way,
that's literally what happens, right?
Yeah, that's literally the plot.
Oh my gosh. Whatever, man. I love Wardlaw. Wait, does this mean 7-Card Slugfest is actually later in the timeline, since it appears around where Wardlaw
I believe it happens concurrently with Devastation. I'm still working that out, but yeah.
Concurrently with Devastation. That's pretty interesting.
Devastation's actually a 2-part plot, and the whole story happens over a year, because there's a year and a half, because there's a 6-month intermission during the middle of the plot.
Oh, wait, where is that? Oh, is this
in the actual plot line of the game?
I see.
Of the characters.
Is this after or before So is the 6-month intermission the point in time wherein the Devastation characters quote unquote grow up? No. Karen and Jaeger become separated or something?
Yeah, it is the point where Argent takes place though. So Argent actually takes place in the middle of Devastation.
Man, if Devastation wasn't bloated enough.
No.
Yeah, packed with so much content.
Every copy of Devastation now comes with a copy of Argent inside the box. Just the full story.
The full story. Oh my gosh, that's perfect. So that answers your question asker. And our last question for this segment is, will BattleCon Unleashed, will the storage box in BattleCon Unleashed have space for future sets? Because you said something along the lines of this is the last BattleCon Kickstarter, but you didn't say that it would be the last BattleCon set or last set of BattleCon characters.
I think there will probably be more room in the box, but our main intention with that is that you'll be able to create your own characters and put them in. I don't know that we might release a couple more one-off characters or such like that. I don't want to close the door on anything. But I do want to kind of plan to not spend 3 months every year working on BattleCon. That's that's how it is, right? For the past 7 years now, 3 months of every year is let's work on BattleCon, and I don't. I like to work on other things. We have other series going on and other new things we want to do. And so there'll probably be more BattleCon stuff in the future because if it makes sense, then we'll do it. But we're not committing to that right now.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we just need a break. We might be turning into Assassin's Creed every year release. And wait, we literally
it does kind of feel like the Assassin's Creed where you've got to do a thing even if it is not necessarily a good idea or if the thing is not even ready. Fate was a little bit like that, where it's maybe we should do this as a separate release, but we stuck our foot in our mouth and we committed to make it the same release as War Remastered, and that was not a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want to commit to the future at this point. I just want to say like we're planning to make Unleashed the big ultimate BattleCon Kickstarter, and what the
It will
future
be.
holds from there, we'll see.
Man, I hope to bug Brad enough. I hope to bug you enough to like let me insert my OCs into one of those like extra characters. We'll shove it into the box. Like it has to happen. We need more. We need more children in this game.
You know, I don't like doing a lot of kid characters. Like there's a reason that Clive is like the only one.
Hey, to be fair, my character's 1,000 years old. He just looks like a kid. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, you and Lem too.
Yeah. Hey. Okay, look, he's a Kaon. All right, Kaons can be like billions of years old.
Anyway,
Whatever.
no, like they're all like real young, but that's not the point.
Oh, no.
Anyway,
Oh no.
the unless time shenanigans, but point anyway. Aside from lore reasons, I don't know what the future for BattleCon is. We'll see. We'll see where things go.
All right. Thank you for that answer, and I hope you guys loved those answers, and I hope you are all satisfied. If not, please send us a comment in the comment section down below, asking us even more questions. Want your questions to be answered, simply put them in the comment section down below, or if you want it to be guaranteed on the show, simply put it in our Google form, and we will eventually get to your question if it's valid enough. If you ask us what we had for breakfast, we might not answer that.
Yeah, I haven't had breakfast yet. Gotta go.
Oh no. I'm sorry. You should have eaten, Brad.
Well, I didn't have time. I had to do this podcast.
Oh, I'm sorry. All right, so let's just finish this podcast up. Oh, but wait, there's more, Brad. Buy now, and you'll get a free final segment. Welcome to our new old segment called Otherwise, where Brad and I do a rotating, fun game at the end of every podcast, usually suggested by you, the listeners. If you guys want us to make use of any of our older games, or suggest a new game for us to try, please tell us in the comment section down below. But for this week, one of our listeners suggested that we do Merchandise It once again. So, welcome to Merchandise It, where Brad and I suggest a Indians-related thing to each other, where the other person must create a real-life product that would actually sell. You then, in the comment section, have to tell us whether or not you would buy said products that we propose. Since it's the start of a new segment, I'll let Brad suggest to me first, and then I'll try. And hopefully stumble and be like the one who shakes off the dust of this segment. By the way, I really want to credit the people who said that the last variable segment thing should just be called Otherwise, because now it will make sense why we say otherwise at the start of every show.
You and your memes, Marco.
Oh.
Okay, let's see. So, a thing in the world of Indians that you have to merchandise. Why don't you you know what? How about the Sanghalese imperial cult?
The cult itself?
So in Sanghalim they have this oracle, Kalamrina, who is also the leader of the country, and who is, this like divine avatar of the water goddess. And it's mandatory state religion that you have to worship the Empress, because she's actually a living deity. And anyway, so how would you merchandise this, Marco?
A cult?
Hard mode, go.
Hard mode, go. All right. So it's a children's toy. All right. It is it's like a Bop It, except it is in the shape of the Sanghalim goddess, right? And then every time you like touch a button or like press the hand on the toy, it'll give you an order, or it'll ask you questions related to Sanghali's cult religion, right? And then you have to answer it correctly or not. If you do answer it correctly, it will let you continue living. And then if you do answer it incorrectly, it'll incarcerate you, quote unquote, and then you lose the game. So it's kind of like Simon Says Bop It, but it's all about a fantasy religion instead of telling you to like bop it. Huh?
This sounds like the worst product ever imagined. I don't think I can lose this one, Marco.
Oh, it's all up to the fans, though. Like, it's all up to the fans. If I suggest you something even harder,
I don't think you can beat that. Just go ahead.
All right, you have to merchandise. Okay, so it's hard to actually just say Argent, because then you could just say, I have an actual real-life product based on that. Okay, so it can't be that. Aha! I want you to merchandise Iron Stars.
Okay. Alright. I make a coffee mug with a picture of an Iron Star on it.
Oh no!
And it says, do you even lift? And there you go. Because it's not. I don't even have to work to beat a walking, like, religious exam. Like, what the heck? Although honestly, the mug would probably say, "Do you even Monster Hunt?" or something like that.
I like that. Okay, you can take it. Oh my god, I should have just made a mug. I should have just made a mug I should have just made a mug with, like, the picture of the deity that says "Bend the knee" or something.
Like, what kind of product are you making? Who's your target audience here? Yeah.
It's not even real religion.
No, like, actually, I've got an even better product for you for Iron Star. Okay.
Okay.
All right. It's a crossover DLC for Capcom's Monster Hunter World, and you get to wield an Iron Star, and you get a Joel Calmore costume.
That I would actually buy that. I hate you. That's so good.
See, Marco, this is why I'm in business.
This is why you're the CEO of a company and I'm not.
Because I can make these deals with Capcom, right?
Yeah. Would the Iron Star be a reskin of a current weapon, or would it be an entirely different weapon set?
You could probably do a heavy axe, if you change the animations a little bit. But honestly, it'd be a new weapon.
Oh, that'd be so rad. Because, like, I don't know how people with Iron Stars fight, but I'm pretty sure they just kind of use the Iron Star as a giant tower shield, right? That is also spiky.
Yeah, it's kind of like a tower shield, and then you walk up to somebody, you drop it on them, and then they die. That's the basic.
So there's no combo. There's no combo with this weapon. It's literally
this is a one-shot weapon.
Why does it have 7 sides then? So
you can slash. You can slash, or you can drop it down.
I see. Okay, that'd be
you
really
can also
cool.
flip it around and use the long edge as a spear if you want. It's not a very practical weapon unless you have the kind of alloys that they have in Indies to make them lighter.
Yeah, so vibranium essentially, right?
Basically, yeah, you need vibranium.
Yeah, or you have to have inhuman super strength to use it.
Yeah, like Caesar.
Yeah. All right. So that pretty much does it for Otherwise, the segment where we do random games and random variable segments suggested by you, the listeners. If you have a random game you want us to try, please tell us in the comment section down below. If you want us to bring back another segment that we've done before, please tell us in the comment section down below. In fact, anything is possible except Dark Soulsified because Brad refuses to do it. Right?
Refuse to engage.
Okay, so that pretty much does it.
The only way to win is not to play.
I can't let you do that, Dave. Okay, no, but seriously, thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Level Cap Podcast. Unfortunately, it must end. We hope you guys enjoyed our docket, and if you guys have any comments, questions, or suggestions, please tell us in the comment section down below. Or otherwise. Yes, it's great. It's great. So as usual, it has been me, your host, Morgan Dos Santos, also known as Otherwise, and with me has been my amazing co-host, CEO, business Capcom dealer himself,
Brad Tal.
And don't forget your special action. Thank you, World of Indians. Thank you, and good night.
Happy gaming. Good night.